Have you ever noticed that comfort is what makes you weak? A few extra minutes lingering in bed in the morning, postponing work simply because you don't want to feel tired, or a seemingly reasonable excuse not to start today. These small, harmless choices quietly erode your inner strength. The Stoics saw this truth clearly thousands of years ago. Ease is not progress. Ease is often decay. True strength does not come from avoiding hardship, but from facing it and allowing yourself to be shaped by the struggle. We cannot control everything, but we can control how we respond, how we build discipline, and how we keep our mind clear. Once you understand this, every difficulty becomes an opportunity to grow. And from here, we begin the path of leaving weakness behind and becoming unshakable. 1. Stop making excuses. Every weakness in discipline often begins with small, seemingly harmless excuses. When we say, "I'll do it later," "I'm tired today," or "I need inspiration before I start," we are not only delaying an action but also shaking the foundation of our own being. Each excuse is like a tiny crack in the solid wall of willpower. At first, it seems insignificant, but over time those cracks spread until the whole structure collapses. The Stoics understood that excuses are never harmless, for they weaken the bond between thought and action, between ideals and reality. When a person allows themselves to evade responsibility, they create a dangerous gap between what they know is right and what they actually do. And that very gap is the beginning of losing trust in oneself. A mind that repeatedly avoids its duty soon loses the ability to distinguish between obligation and comfort disguised as reason. The Stoics saw this as a silent betrayal, not of others, but of one's own nature. As Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, man was not born to drown in indulgence, but to think, to act, and to carry his share of duty as part of nature itself. What makes excuses so dangerous is the mask of reason they often wear. You may think skipping once will do no harm. You may convince yourself that you need more time to prepare, or that a small delay won't change the outcome. Yet every time you accept this, you deepen the habit of surrender. And this habit does not stop with small matters. It creeps into larger decisions, turning a person from active to passive, from principle-driven to mood-driven. To stop making excuses, one must first be absolutely honest with oneself. Each time a reason arises in the mind, call it by its true name. It is an evasion, nothing more. Do not dress it up. Do not conceal it. Do not turn it into a philosophy to justify weakness. Only when you can look directly at this truth can you break the cycle. The Stoics never waited for perfect conditions to act. They began where they stood, because they knew delay never made the path easier. It only weakened the spirit. One effective way to resist excuses is to set a standard of living that is non-negotiable. Once the standard is clear, there is no debate with yourself. Action becomes self-evident, not the result of endless inner argument. This is not blind harshness, but guidance. It tells the mind that effort is required regardless of current feelings. When you act even in unfavorable conditions, you send yourself a powerful message. Principle is always greater than mood. Over time, the repetition of small actions without excuses forms a new habit. You no longer need to think too much before doing what must be done. You no longer depend on instant motivation or external push. You act simply because it is the thing to do, and this is what creates endurance. Hesitation no longer drains your energy. The mind is free to focus on execution instead of debate. 2. Learn to befriend discomfort. Comfort is often praised as a reward, but in reality, it is more like a sweet trap. When everything becomes too easy, vigilance dulls, the body weakens, and the spirit loses resilience. The Stoics long ago recognized that constant comfort does not cultivate strength. Adversity and friction do. They did not wait for hardship to arrive. They created situations to accustom themselves to inconvenience, removing the fear of difficulty when it inevitably came. Training with discomfort is not about punishing oneself, but about preparing for the unavoidable realities of life. Life is filled with loss, delays, fatigue, and sudden crises. If one is accustomed only to ease, then even minor setbacks become major shocks. By contrast, if the mind and body are familiar with deprivation, then unexpected disruptions lose their power to shake us. This is why the Stoics treated deliberate exposure to discomfort as training, like a soldier practicing before battle. When we willingly step into what is not easy, we reshape our nervous system and our thinking. The body and mind learn that discomfort does not mean danger. It is simply a test to be endured. Over time, tolerance increases, and what once made us hesitate becomes ordinary. From there, the ability to handle pressure grows, and hypersensitivity to hardship fades. The Stoics saw this as a retraining of the soul itself, replacing avoidance with advancement. Once you grow accustomed to discomfort, you no longer depend on external conditions to perform. You do not need the perfect temperature, constant support, or continuous praise to work. Instead, your ability to act stabilizes, whether conditions are favorable or not. This mindset makes a person difficult to shake, able to remain calm and focused even in chaos. By choosing discomfort, pressure becomes an ally, not an enemy. It is important to remember that befriending discomfort is not about seeking suffering, but about recognizing the hidden training it provides. Each time we accept inconvenience, we send ourselves a message that resilience matters more than ease. And as this message is repeated, it builds an unshakable belief. Difficulty cannot stop us, it can only shape us. This is the foundation of endurance the Stoics pursued throughout their lives. 3. Mastering emotion. Emotions are a natural part of being human. They reflect needs, values, and what we hold dear. But when emotions become the master rather than the companion, they distort perception and pull us away from principle. Anger narrows vision, fear halts progress, desire pulls the mind from what is essential. The Stoics did not deny or erase emotion. They trained themselves to observe it, to recognize its presence, but not to let it dictate action. This is not numbness, it is the deliberate choice to respond with reason. A key principle in Stoic philosophy is creating a pause between emotion and action. That pause may be a single breath, a brief stillness to ask, does this reaction truly reflect my values? That small interruption is enough to break the chain of automatic impulses, giving reason the space to return and clarify the situation. Once a person learns to delay reaction, they are no longer driven by fleeting impulses but can act according to established standards. This is the power of self-control, the very foundation of virtue. Training emotional mastery does not mean avoiding or denying what happens within. It means daring to face and question it. When anger arises, ask what truly caused it. When anxiety rises, examine which belief is feeding it. When desire stirs, measure whether it is necessary or merely habit. By questioning, we turn emotion from command into data to reflect upon. And when illuminated by awareness, that data becomes a tool for growth. Over time, this practice builds a mind as steady as a fortress. No matter the turmoil outside, order is preserved within. This is why Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that even amid illness, betrayal, and war, he could return to his inner self as a final refuge. The Stoics never sought a world without turbulence. They sought to train themselves to stand firm within it. Those who master emotion are not easily drawn into pointless disputes, do not add fuel to conflict, and do not collapse under pressure. They maintain stability, and by doing so, their presence radiates discipline and order to others. This not only strengthens their reputation, but also builds trust in themselves. For when you have repeatedly controlled your reactions, you begin to believe in your inner resilience. The final result of mastering emotion is a steadfast mind. No longer carried away by temporary fluctuations, it focuses on what can be controlled: thought, choice, and action. This steadiness is not a gift of fortune, but the fruit of constant practice. And in reaching this state, one no longer lives enslaved by emotion, but free under the rule of reason. 4. Build the rhythm of discipline. Lasting strength is not the result of luck or fleeting inspiration, but the product of deliberate daily repetition. The Stoics viewed discipline as the skeleton that supports life, the foundation upon which all other virtues rest. Without discipline, the mind is easily swept away by emotions and circumstances, but with it, a person holds steady amid constant change. This is why they emphasized creating daily rhythms, treating them as rituals that train the mind and strengthen the will. Discipline does not arise from doing great things in moments of excitement, but from the persistence of completing small, repeated actions. These actions are like bricks laid each day, slowly building the solid structure we call character. The Stoics believed we cannot wait for motivation to begin, for motivation rises and falls, while discipline is something that can be cultivated through daily choice. Once an action becomes habit, we no longer waste energy on inner conflict, we perform it as naturally as breathing. The rhythm of discipline frees mental energy by eliminating hesitation and internal conflict. When each day follows a clear structure, we are no longer burdened by having to make constant new choices. The mind is directed toward execution rather than debate. This clarity preserves stability of spirit and channels energy into what truly matters, instead of scattering it on trivial decisions. This is one of discipline's greatest values. It transforms scattered energy into focused strength. Another key is that discipline comes not only from what we add to life, but also from what we remove. Eliminating distractions, reducing excess, simplifying the environment, all of these allow the mind to remain clear. When clutter is removed, the right action becomes the easiest path forward. The Stoics saw this simplicity as a safeguard for clarity. For the fewer directions we are pulled, the easier it is to stay on course. Over time, the deliberate repetition of disciplined actions shapes an identity. A person becomes trustworthy because they do what they set out to do. They preserve unity between word and deed, between plan and result. When discipline becomes a familiar rhythm, inner stability emerges, and that stability makes them a pillar even in uncertain times. This is the quiet but enduring strength of discipline's rhythm. It changes not only what a person does, but who they are at the root. 5. Mastering desire. Desire is one of the strongest temptations of human life, for it often offers sweetness and comfort in the moment. Yet it is precisely this fleeting pleasure that becomes the source of deep inner unrest. The Stoics taught that when desire governs us, self-control is lost, and without self-control, peace cannot exist. Immediate gratification may bring a brief joy, but the result is dependency. binding us to cravings that never end. Each time we let desire lead, reason is clouded. Instead of choosing what is right, we chase what is pleasant. Instead of acting from principle, we act from feeling. The more we indulge desire, the greater the dependence, and with it comes anxiety, for whenever the object of craving disappears, emptiness takes its place. The Stoics reminded us that true wealth lies not in having more, but in needing less. Only the one who can live calmly without constant gratification is truly free. The danger of desire is that it often disguises itself as necessity. People easily believe they need these things to be happy, when in truth, they are only urges repeated by habit and environment. Advertising, trends, and social pressure feed the mind with new cravings, turning them into standards rarely questioned. But when left unexamined, we become slaves to these desires, losing the power of wise choice. The Stoics chose another path. They stopped, observed, questioned, and asked whether the desire was truly necessary or merely a passing illusion. Controlling desire does not mean rejecting all joy, but learning to balance it and placing principle above temporary sensation. The Stoics practiced delaying gratification as a form of training. Each time we pause and resist, we strengthen reason, sending ourselves the message that will is greater than impulse. Over time, these repetitions form a shield for the mind, making us calmer in the face of temptation. When desire is held under control, the mind feels lighter and freer. We are no longer pulled by endless urges, but can focus on what truly matters. Peace, then, does not come from constant satisfaction, but from knowing we are strong enough not to depend on it. And this inner freedom is the lasting power the Stoics always sought. 6. Mastering attention. Attention is the most precious resource we possess, for wherever it goes, energy and action follow. The Stoics recognized that those who cannot govern their attention are easily scattered, losing focus, and slipping into a passive life. By contrast, the one who masters attention shapes life itself, for they direct all strength toward what is essential. For this reason, training attention was seen as the foundation of self-mastery and the key to inner peace. In modern life, attention is under constant attack. Information floods in. Digital noise seeps into every moment, and the mind becomes a battleground for outside forces competing for control. The result is busyness without progress, exhaustion without growth. The Stoics warned that a mind continually dragged away loses clarity to see what truly matters. Thus, the first step in mastering attention is to limit input, cut distractions, and consciously choose what we allow into the mind. Mastering attention is not about forcing focus every moment, but about learning to return to the present whenever distraction arises. The Stoics emphasized living fully in the moment, for only the present is within our control. When attention drifts to the past, it breeds regret. When it races to the future, it feeds anxiety. Anchored in the present, the mind remains clear, able to handle the task at hand instead of drowning in imagined scenarios. Another key practice in mastering attention is choosing to do fewer things, but more deeply. Rather than scattering energy across countless activities, the Stoics focused on a few meaningful goals and gave themselves fully to them. This not only raised the quality of their work, but also strengthened their inner confidence, for each investment of attention brought genuine satisfaction. It proved that focused effort yields far greater value than shallow dispersion. Over time, the habit of governing attention builds a resilient mind, one not easily shaken by the world around it. Those who train this ability are no longer swept away by distraction, but become the guides of their own lives. They keep clarity, set boundaries, and protect their focus as a treasure. And once attention is mastered, the foundation is laid to master every other part of life, for every change, every growth begins where we place the mind. 7. Value time. Of all that humans possess, time is the one resource that can never be regained. Once it passes, it is gone forever, leaving behind only the imprint of how we chose to use it. The Stoics regarded wasting time as a moral failure, for it meant indifference toward the most precious gift nature has given us. While we worry about losing money, property, or status, the truth is, those things can be restored, but time never can. Our attitude toward time therefore reflects directly our attitude toward life itself. The waste of time rarely appears as one great act, but creeps in through small daily habits. A little procrastination, a few distractions, a series of meaningless activities together, they carve vast, empty spaces in life. The Stoics recognize that these gaps do more than rob us of progress. They create deep regret. For in the end, people do not suffer for what they did, but for what they missed simply because they did not use time wisely. Valuing time does not mean cramming as many activities as possible into each day. The Stoics did not encourage false busyness. They emphasized selectivity and purpose in every action. They asked, "Does this truly matter? Does it bring me closer to the person I wish to become?" When an activity carries no value, it is merely waste disguised. This perspective allows one to separate empty motion from genuine progress, and thus to use time with clarity and direction. One method of managing time well is to give each day a structure. The Stoics often began mornings with reflection to define priorities, and ended evenings with review to draw lessons. This was not about controlling every detail, but about ensuring each day was enclosed within a circle of awareness. In this way, time did not pass vaguely, but was turned into a meaningful current. When a person begins to treat time as their most precious asset, they also begin to build inner confidence. Each hour well spent becomes proof that life is not wasted. Each hour lost, by contrast, leaves a deeper sense of loss. This contrast reminds us that every choice in a day is an investment, and as those investments accumulate, they form the foundation of a life directed, clear, and less burdened with regret. To value time, in the Stoic spirit, is not merely a strategy for efficiency, but a philosophy of living. It reminds us that life is finite, and every moment deserves reverence. By prioritizing what matters, removing what is needless, and living with purpose, we make time our ally rather than letting it slip away. And it is this awareness that allows us to truly master our lives. 8. Freedom from approval. One of the subtlest chains binding people is the need for approval. When actions depend on praise, recognition, or agreement, we have handed authority over our lives to others. The Stoics considered this dependence a form of slavery of the mind, for it compels us to live for the crowd rather than according to principle. Each time we act merely to be acknowledged, we blur the true value of the act, turning it into performance instead of a conscious choice. In truth, the praise or judgment of others does not alter the nature of an action. What is right remains right even if no one notices, and what is wrong remains wrong even if it is applauded. The Stoics reminded themselves that intrinsic worth does not rest in applause, but in the unity of thought, word, and deed. Once this is understood, we see that seeking external approval only drains us, while fidelity to principle grants real strength. The need for approval often breeds insecurity. When we live for praise, we tremble at criticism. When we act for recognition, we grow anxious when ignored. Life then becomes a cycle of expectation and disappointment, leaving no space for peace. The Stoics understood that true freedom of mind comes when values are rooted inwardly, immune to the shifting moods of public opinion. For the crowd may cheer today and turn tomorrow, and if our stability depends on them, we will never stand firm. Freedom from approval does not mean rejecting all external input. The Stoics still listened to feedback, but they did not let it define the essence of action. They distinguished between useful counsel for growth and empty flattery or baseless criticism. In this way, they preserved both humility to learn and independence to remain themselves. This is the balance they pursued: to respect others, but not to live for their satisfaction. Once freed from the need for approval, one feels a profound lightness. Actions are done because they are right, not because of an audience. Progress is pursued for its reality, not for applause. One holds steady to the chosen path, regardless of shifting opinion. And it is this steadiness that creates lasting credibility, for people trust those who act from inner conviction rather than external pressure. Such liberation is a vital step in Stoicism, for it restores self-mastery. When we no longer need approval to act, we are free. When we no longer need praise to keep faith, we are strong. And when we no longer let opinion define our worth, we begin to live a principled life, steady, rooted, and unshaken by change. 9. Facing responsibility. Responsibility is an unavoidable part of life, yet people often delay or avoid it because of its burden and pressure. The Stoics taught that avoidance does not remove the weight. It only makes it heavier with time. Each task neglected, each decision postponed, accumulates into a greater load, robbing the mind of peace. Thus, to face responsibility directly is not only a duty, but the only way to preserve the clarity of spirit. Responsibility carries within it the power to train. It forces us to focus, to use reason, and to align our actions with principle. The Stoics regarded carrying responsibility as a method of self-formation, for each duty fulfilled makes the mind more steadfast and character more firmly built. They did not seek escape, for they knew that only under pressure can one's strength be revealed and measured. The difference between a resilient mind and a fragile one lies in its attitude toward responsibility. The one who constantly evades it loses trust in themselves, for deep down they know they have abandoned their duty. The one who faces it, even if imperfectly, preserves self-respect, for they acted rather than fled. The Stoics believe that this self-respect is the foundation of a life of dignity. Facing responsibility also means distinguishing between what belongs to us and what lies beyond our control. One of the Stoics' central principles is to focus on what we can change and release what we cannot. When a person takes responsibility for their part while refusing to waste energy on the impossible, they preserve clarity and reduce needless strain. Responsibility then becomes a tool for order, restoring life to harmony instead of chaos. Carrying responsibility benefits not only oneself but also builds credibility with others. A person who keeps promises, fulfills duties, and avoids blame shifting becomes a reliable anchor for those around them. Such credibility is not won through words, but through the consistent repetition of responsible actions. The Stoics knew that true leadership does not rest in titles or ranks, but in becoming an example of discipline and perseverance in daily work. When responsibility is faced rather than avoided, it transforms into a path of growth. Each acceptance of duty strengthens inner power, builds trust with oneself, and shapes enduring character. The Stoics did not see responsibility as a burden, but as a school where each task is a lesson leading closer to maturity. And once responsibility is valued at this level, pressure is no longer feared, for it is understood as the very tool that makes us resilient and free. 10. Live as an example. A person's greatest strength is not found in words, but in the way they live. An eloquent speech may impress for a moment, but a consistent life is the lasting proof. The Stoics regarded daily conduct as the most powerful form of teaching. Every gesture, every decision, every quiet act of holding to principles speaks more clearly than advice ever could. For words may shift with circumstance, but actions repeated over years form a pattern of life that cannot be denied. To live as an example does not mean seeking perfection, but sustaining honesty and consistency. The Stoics knew that people stumble, yet instead of hiding or excusing mistakes, they chose to correct and realign. It is this frankness toward flaws and steady return to principle that makes their lives a vivid testimony of discipline. Stability does not come from never failing, but from never abandoning the path of self-improvement. A life lived as an example has influence because it needs no promotion. When a person consistently honors commitments, perseveres in their work, and lives with order, others naturally notice and follow. This is how lasting influence is built, not through force, not through persuasion, but by quietly proving through steadiness. Such influence works silently, yet deeply, for people trust what they see repeated, not the fleeting promises they hear. The Stoics also knew that living as an example requires long patience. Reputation cannot be formed in a day. It is built brick by brick through countless small actions. Each day lived by principle adds another stone to the wall of character. And once the wall stands firm, it becomes a refuge both for oneself and for those around. Consistency in daily action thus becomes the most valuable asset, for it cannot be taken away and it cannot be faked. To live as an example is also to keep unity between belief and action. The Stoics did not permit a divide between what they claimed to believe and what they actually did. When a person maintains this unity, they preserve inner clarity while building trust in others. Their presence itself becomes a source of assurance and steadiness, even in the midst of chaos. Ultimately, to live as an example is a form of silent leadership. It requires no title or authority, but shows itself in endurance, reliability, and self-mastery. The Stoics did not seek influence by preaching, but by becoming proof of what they pursued. They showed that true strength does not need adornment, it only needs to be practiced daily. And it is this constancy that makes one a model for others, not by compulsion, but because they see authenticity and endurance in every action. The most important truth I have realized is that the quiet repetition of small actions is what builds lasting strength. There is no shortcut to training the will, and no comfort can replace inner discipline. Those who long for peace yet avoid hardship are, in truth, moving against the nature of growth. For me, the essence lies in clearly discerning what is within my control and directing energy toward it, rather than being carried away by what is external. Mental steadiness, firmness in action, and the ability to uphold principle amid change are the true measures of strength. When people are patient enough to practice this spirit, they not only build a disciplined life, but also leave behind an example for others to follow. If you find these reflections valuable, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you won't miss what comes next. For the training of mind and spirit is a long journey, and each day offers a chance to take one more steady step. And finally, always remember, the choices you make today will shape the person you become tomorrow. See you in the next video.